away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet. Created by whom? Created by we the people. Again, created by whom? Created by we the people. Anyway, without further ado, we send it over to the studio with El Senor Jacques Van Weber. How you doing, Jack?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. Today's show is this episode dissects a pattern of systemic failure and moral collapse that defines governance rooted in intimidation rather than accountability. From a shocking ICE hiring scandal involving critic Laura Jedeed to the White House press secretary lashing out at journalists to a health care plan that a health care plan critics rightly call a con, getting my merge mixed up there. Finally, to a $3 meal that mocks hunger. The through line is clear. Power is being wielded to evade responsibility while working people pay the price. And to that I say, as the Trump administration attacks and undermines family farmers and ranchers to no doubt cause their failure so big agribusiness can buy up those farms and ranches and create a privatized food monopoly. This is a 10-foot tall and 15-foot long red flag, America. Then they roll out a $3 meal plan, a couple of smidgens of broccoli, a piece of chicken, and some corn tortillas, and a peppermint for dessert. I'll spell this out. America, you're being mocked. This shows the disdain and cruelty the billionaire cabinet has for the people. Time for protest and dissent. Liberty or else.
Liberty or else. Give me what? Isn't that one of what that one of the people we call the founders said? Give me liberty or
Give me liberty or
death.
give me death.
You
Yeah.
know, uh,
I was just modernizing it to say liberty or else.
yeah, you're actually sanitizing it. That is so good, Jack. I mean, I think especially in these times, yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need. Anyway, folks, we are gonna have a great show for you today. Um, you know, uh, guess what, guys? After 15 years of the Affordable Care Act, is it about 15 years? I think it came out in about 20. Well, I remember 2010. I believe is when it was signed. So more like 16 years. After 16 years of hating the Affordable Care Act and trying to come out with something, Donald Trump has come out with a health care plan. My God, he finally did it after 15 years. You remember, he's been telling us consistently, in 2 weeks, I'll have my plan. In 2 weeks, I'll have my plan. And you know what? This guy came up with a plan. You know how complex Obamacare is to get private insurance in there, to do all these great things, make sure that women, it has laws in there to make sure women aren't, pregnancy is not considered a pre-existing condition, to make sure women pay the same rates as men, to make sure that pre-existing conditions on everybody, insurance companies must insure you whether you have a pre-existing condition or not. There are no more rescissions for how much your cost is. In other words, if you get some very bad disease and your cost goes over $1 million, the insurance company can no longer say, okay, after $1 million, we're out. and they can't cancel your policy because they don't like you anymore or believe that you are rich. All those protections that Obamacare was designed to put in, which of course meant insurance, private insurance, that is, would cost a bit more. I mean, there's so many things inside of the Affordable Care Act which has to be written down, and it takes pages and pages of information to write that stuff down. Look, let's be clear here. The very easiest way for Obama to have solved the healthcare problem would have been to have Medicare for all, which means all of us pay taxes and whoever gets sick is taken care of. Punto y final. You don't have to worry about filling out forms and all of that. Everybody have their healthcare card. They go to the doctor, they see the doctor. If they need services, the doctor provide the services and then bill Medicare for all for it. Easy, easy. No overhead, no pre-authorizations. All of that gone, right? But no, Obama made the compromise and adapted what was known as Romney Care, which is the policy Romney instituted in Massachusetts, and Obama put a few more things on it to make it a better product for America with private insurance as a partner. And having private insurance as a partner is like having Lucifer as a partner. But that's what we got. That is what we got. But our great president, the great healer, he came out with a plan. And his plan was less than 900 words. The Trump health care plan was less than 900 words. US President Donald Trump announced the great health care plan. And I'd like you guys to go to the White House and take a look at it. Arguing that contrary to White House claims, the scheme will lead to higher consumer costs and less care. Trump called on Congress to pass his proposal, which he said will lower drug prices. I mean, he said prices. Do you believe him? It will lower drug prices. I am asking you, please, 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 go and take a look at. I tell you what I'll do to be a nice guy. I am going to put, as I'm speaking about it, the healthcare plan on the screen. It's on the screen. That's the entire healthcare plan from Donald Trump. I am not kidding you. And the three headlines: lower drug prices, lower insurance premiums, hold big insurance companies accountable, maximize price transparency. That is the Trump's plan, folks. And I'm not kidding you. And under each of those headings, there are a couple of subheadings, and the total wordage, the total verbiage is under 900 words. Under 900 words. Okay? Under 900. However, the advocacy group Protect Your Child called the proposal a joke healthcare plan and a sad attempt to continue gaslighting the American people. Since taking office, President and Trump and his cronies in Congress has taken a hammer to American healthcare to enrich billionaires and big corporations. First, they slashed, what was it again? $1 trillion from Medicaid. And then they doubled, tripled, and quadrupled health premiums for the nearly 22 million Americans struggling to get by. Then, now that it's clear that busting working Americans' families is bad policy, Trump is scrambling for a lifeline. He needs a lifeline, folks. He needs a lifeline. So I don't know why you're seeing that, but we'll see, Jack. He's needed a lifeline. Anyhow, the Senate, which last month voted down a similar, first of all, there's a solution, right? There's a solution. And that is for the time being, extend, for the time being, extend the subsidies until we can make substantive changes to our healthcare system, specifically until we can get Medicare for all and get rid of everything that complicates our healthcare system. But no, it's stuck in the Senate, guys. It is stuck in the Senate. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates that a 3 year extension of the enhanced ACA premium tax credits would increase the number of Americans with health insurance by millions, including approximately 3 million in 2027 and 4 million in 2028. But that's too good. That would be doing something for the average American family. And that's not what Republican healthcare policy is. Let's talk about what Republican healthcare policy really is from a segment I did over, what is it, 15, 14 years ago? Check this out and then we'll take it on the other side.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You may recall that a few weeks ago, President Obama came to this chamber and he addressed the chamber on health care before a joint session of the House and the Senate. During that session, I was privileged to be here, and I saw my colleagues on the far side of the aisle, the Republicans, waving pieces of paper during his speech. And I was wondering what they were. I couldn't imagine. It almost seemed like they wanted President Obama's autograph. I just didn't get it. I heard from one of my colleagues that this is what they called the Republican health care plan. I went over after the speech was over. I picked up a copy that was lying down on the Republican side, and it turns out that the Republicans' health care plan was a blank piece of paper. I inquired further, trying to find out exactly what the Republicans' health care plan is, and it's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. The Republicans' health care plan for America: don't get sick. That's right, don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this: die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick. Now, the Democrats have a different plan. The Democrats say that if you have health insurance, we're going to make it better. If you don't have health insurance, we're going to provide it to you. If you can't afford health insurance, then we'll help you to afford health insurance. So America gets to decide. Do you want the Democratic plan or do you want the Republican plan? Remember, the Republican plan: don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly.
I remember when he said that. I interviewed Alan Grayson several times since. He used to be the congressman from Florida. And when that came out, that went viral for the longest time. And the reason why is, in as much as it sort of is funny in a macabre kind of way, it is so true. Based on everything Republicans talk to you about healthcare, that is the outcome. Don't get sick and die quickly. If you die quickly, you are less of a burden to society, less of a burden to the thing. And let me tell you something. There is something to that, right? Because I am so mad at our privatized health extraction system here that pretty much that is how I've been trying to live my life. Not to get sick, work out, eat right, do all the right things that I possibly can. I can't control everything because I don't want to interface with this evil system. My daughter and my wife has had to interface with this system, and it is the most heinous, corrupt, difficult, stressful system. As my wife is fighting with a severe case of shingles, having lupus, and a few other things, and going to the hospital, barely able to talk with her face twisted to one side before we knew whether she was having a stroke or the reaction to shingles. The business office of the hospital was in there with a sheet, with a computer, a computer screen, who is your insurance company, where do you work, all these things before taking care of solving the problem. I guess they wanted to make sure and get that information before she passed out or in case she croaked. My daughter, and luckily she was in med school when she got her two strokes, and they had a little bit of sympathy for her because again, she's one of the doctors, right? Uh, Look, we have an evil healthcare system, a system that advertises in such a manner that you continue to vote for those who would stop it from being turned into Medicare for all. Folks, um, America is getting a piece of a taste, a taste of what it was like before on steroids. It starts with those first 22 million people on the Affordable Care Act, and it's continuing with everybody else because for all those people that are losing their insurance on the Affordable Care Act, guess who needs to keep the money flowing? The insurance companies. And to keep their shareholders with ever increasing value, who do you think they're going to bill next? You. They've started. Many companies have seen a 40% rise in their insurance costs. I repeat, a 40% rise in their insurance costs. Folks, we can do something about that. Before I go to Laura Jedeed, the telephone number 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738, extension number 2. If you want to mention something, do you have an healthcare issue, health insurance issue? Have they conned you, or do they have you not going to the hospital? Do they have you fearful of going to see a doctor because of what it'll cost you? Give me a call, 713-526-5738, or drop me a line, kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Uju said, this is what incompetence looks like. They have had 17 years to do something about healthcare, and they've done nothing. Good morning, Lisa Blair. How you doing from Atlanta, Georgia? Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas says, good morning at all at KPFT listeners and viewers of Politics Done Right in the state of Texas and around the world. Good morning, Jack Van Beba. He's saluting us all. Tell us about ISIS Laura Jedeed hiring. I will be playing that video in a little bit, in a couple minutes or so. Rosie says, awful. There's no humanity in healthcare. As a Medicare Advantage personage, I have had to navigate in the last 3 years, finding providers every 8 months. We are not dealing with individual doctors anymore. Our healthcare is provided by conglomerates. Where is the humanity in that? There's none. There's no humanity. Marnie says, my grandmother got shingles when I was very young, long before the vaccine. And my grandmother said it was one of the worst things she's ever experienced. I can tell you from experience watching my wife suffer with shingles. She just about wanted to clock it in because, like I said, she had that above and beyond having lupus. And that was like a double whammy. Went from 135 pounds to 100 pounds in probably 3 weeks or so. We had to bring her back, force her to walk, you name it. Augie, line number 1. How are you doing, my brother?
All right. Hey, I remember talking about that press conference Trump had during his first administration outdoors when he had those sheets of white paper saying his plan was right there in his hand, and a cameraman zoomed in, and they were all blank pages.
Yes, it
and
was.
And then the second term, he was asked again. He says, well, I got a concept of a plan. And then at MS Now, last night, they showed the photos of his plan, 2 sheets. The first one is the cover sheet. The second one was just like a speech, no details about how it's going to work. And they said it was 350 words instead of 900 words on the second sheet.
I guess they didn't count. They didn't count the cover letter, and they didn't count. I mean, the cover sheet, and they didn't count the dots and the it as and so forth. I did.
Yeah, the cover sheet was just a few words saying this is a big beautiful plan and Trump, and that was about it. There weren't that many words in the first.
It's crazy.
But then they had interviews with a doctor. There was a married couple. There were two doctors, and they had been fighting HMOs most of their careers. And the husband got a rare form of cancer, and their medical plan refused to pay for the life-saving treatment that he would get, and so they had to fight him, just like everybody else. And these were medical doctors, and the husband eventually died because he didn't get his cancer covered by the HMO. And when I transferred from San Antonio to Houston by my company, I lived in Katy, and my primary care doctor was a Canadian doctor. And for 3 years, he complained about the HMOs created by the Republicans, how they tell him what he can charge and can't charge, what he can take care of and can't take care of. And he said they're trained differently in Canada than in America. In Canada, doctors are trained to listen to the patient. Here in America, the doctors are trained to give the patients a lot of tests.
That is so true.
With a lot of tests, they charge them a lot of money. And eventually he went back to Canada because he got tired of this American way of health care. But
yeah, it's terrible. I got to go. I'll give it, because I got a 15-minute Laura Jedeed thing. But thank you for that, my brother. Let's listen to this, and then we'll get back to the program. All right, brother?
Right.
Thank you, friend. Have a good one. All right, guys. Look, let me tell you. You see how ICE, those violent thugs, are out there. As for what our good friend Jeff calls it, lice, they're out there doing all the wrong things, treating people like animals, acting like animals themselves. Actually, that's I shouldn't say they are acting like animals, really, because that is giving animals a bad name. They're acting like the murderous thugs that they are. So Laura Jedeed, an independent journalist, went out and faked being hired, or rather, attempted being hired by ICE. And what she shows is there are absolutely no controls. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Look, Laura Jedeed is an independent freelance journalist and founder of Firewall Media. She has written at Politico, Rolling Stone, The Nation, New Republic, Slate, among other substantive publications. She is a veteran, a real veteran, a hero. More importantly, as an investigative reporter, she has broken a very important story that has repercussions we are living through today with ICE. Laura Jedeed, welcome to Politics Done Right. How you doing?
Doing all right. Great to be here.
Look, it's great having you. Let me tell you, I've been excited to speak to you from the time I read that article. It's like, first of all, it's great to know that we've sat on panels together, but it's even greater to see what you have actually done here by coming out to Texas and exposing something that needed to be exposed. I tell you what, tell us a little bit. I want to get into the story, but I need my audience to know who you are.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm an investigative journalist. I've been doing this for a little bit now. I joined the Army right out of high school, out of an excess of patriotism, really believed in the whole global war on terror thing, really thought we were bringing freedom and democracy to people overseas. When I deployed to Afghanistan, it became very obvious very quickly that that's not the case. And it made me wonder what else I'd been lied to about. So over the course of the next several years, I changed my opinion on almost everything that I used to believe. And I do this job in part because I remember what it's like to believe something I no longer do. And a lot of my work has been focused on trying to explain why people believe the things they do. So this is an interesting one for me, the one that I've just written, but we live in very interesting times. So
we sure do. And, I love what you said, that you were able to change your own belief systems after experiencing what I'm going to call it a real reality. And I think by you having that experience, you are so able to communicate to others to do the same, almost given them a permission structure to do that. And in that light, what I want to do is talk about your ICE experience. Why don't you start from the beginning?
Yeah, so originally the plan was a lot simpler than what ended up happening. I was going to there was an ICE hiring expo in Arlington, Texas, and I thought it would be interesting to see what that was like. So I went ahead and assembled a skills-based resume. As I mentioned, I'm a veteran, so I was able to put together a skills-based resume that looked pretty good on the surface, and traveled out there and was going to hand in that resume. Now, your reader, for the listeners, you should know that I am. My name is pretty unique. I'm very Googleable, and if you were to Google me, you would find out immediately that I have been an outspoken critic of the Trump administration and a very outspoken critic of ICE for many years. I've written articles in The Nation about both of those things, like directly, and then just on social media. So, yeah, I assumed that what would happen is I would hand my resume in, I'd get the initial interview, I would leave, and then I would never hear from them again because they would type my name into a computer or do like any kind of background check and realize that I'm not the recruit they're looking for. So that's what I did. I went in, I handed in my resume. They did about a 6-minute interview that mostly consisted of questions about things like name, date of birth, time
and that
in
was
military.
face to face.
That was face to face.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Arlington Esports Arena, which is a very interesting building. But
and by the way, beforehand, you flew from New York all the way to Dallas for this mission.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that was a very, very fast trip, but I was glad I went. It was interesting. It was cool to see who was there. I talked to an ICE agent as part of this. It wasn't part of the interview process. That was just a thing that you could do if you wanted to learn more about the job. So I did that. And then I went back home and prepared to write an article about that. And, I kept an eye on my inbox for a couple days because they said you'll either hear same day or like in the next couple days, So I kept an eye out, and then I stopped keeping an eye out because I didn't expect to hear from them. So when they sent an email with a tentative offer on September 3rd, which was several days after the expo, I missed it. I didn't see it. It sank to the bottom of my inbox. What that letter had in it was a tentative offer. It said I had 48 hours to accept and that I would need to submit a whole lot of paperwork to be considered. Paperwork including a background check, information so they could run a background check on me, some medical affidavit stuff, a certification that I'd never been convicted of a domestic violence crime, stuff like that. Important things that you would expect to need. So Sana didn't see it, sent in none of that stuff. And that really should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. A few weeks later, I received an email saying that I was invited to go to LabCorp to take a drug test as the next part of my ICE application.
Let me ask you, because I want to interrupt here, because based on what you wrote, after you received that first email, it was past the 48 hours from which you should have responded. So you never responded and you just let it go.
Yeah, I honestly found it after I completed, when I finally checked the ICE portal, which we're getting to, that's when I went back through my inbox and searched and found it. I hadn't known that it was there. My inbox is a mess. I'll own that completely. But for the time to accept, that had already passed. Oh, by about a month, yes.
Okay, continue, please. I just want the audience to see the ineptitude that we're talking about here. And not only ineptitude, but the sleight of hand. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, exactly that. But so as far as I know at this point, all that's happened is that I've been selected to do a drug test, which was unfortunate. Cannabis is legal in New York State. I had partaken about 6 days before they wanted me to take that test. But, you never know what's going to happen. And I figured worst case scenario, I'd waste some of ICE's money. So I went in and I did the drug test and went home and waited. And they have to call you if you fail. So I figured I'd hear from them then. And when I didn't, about 9 days later, I was curious. So finally, I logged in to the ICE portal to see whether this had been processed yet. And what I found, Egberto, was that not only did the drug test not seem to matter, it listed me as having a final offer for a job. It listed me as having accepted the final offer for the job. And it listed my entrance on duty date as September 30th, which was 3 days before I was checking this ICE portal. And if you're wondering about the background check, it was apparently completed on October 6th. So that would be 3 days in the future when I'm looking at this, but it was listed as completed. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That is amazing. In other words, you checked late again. You have already accepted an offer you didn't. And
Yep.
the background check that was supposed to be made, that is already checked, was actually done in the future.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
So what
mind-blowing.
happened after that?
Well, at that point, I went back through and I looked at my emails and I kind of pieced this together. And it took a little while to just, I mean, it's because when you see something that you don't expect to see like that, sometimes it can take a little while to like really understand what you're looking at. And it did take me a little while for that. I got to work, I called my editor at Slate. I said, hey, we need to change of plans. I reworked the article. It kind of got a little bit stuck in editing hell for a little while. And, but it came out at, I think, a very good time. And that's where we are today.
I mean, I think it came out at an excellent time because when you see an ICE performing so badly, and you wonder where these people who are doing this work are from, your experience tell a big story. I tell you what, why don't you tell me what you think your story tells about the ICE recruitment process?
Yeah. So look, it's very funny that they hired a person with a listing on antifawatch.com. That's hilarious. But what's less funny is the implications, because it's very unlikely, I think, that my application is the only one that this happened to. And so you have to ask, we have these people in masks with guns running around on the street, brutalizing, disappearing, murdering people. And not only do we not know who they are, I think it's very possible that ICE doesn't know who they are. And so I am very curious to know how many people with domestic violence convictions are out there on the street with a gun right now. These people oversee detentions. How many people convicted of sex crimes are in charge of a detention facility? These people, they won't be believed and they won't be missed. So the more you think about it, the worse it gets.
There's something in your article that I think was striking as well. When you flew to Dallas from New York, you said that this place that was expecting all these people was rather big, and you found it interestingly empty. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that I think we can infer another story from that, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah. So there was a 2-day expo, and we were all required on Eventbrite, because they're very professional, to select a time slot so that I assume we didn't overrun them with the numbers of patriots just, storming the building, trying to get on that $50K bonus. But when I got there, that's not at all what I found. There was no line for security. There was no line to give the ticket over. There was a 6-person line to get the interview, maybe 150 people sitting in this giant arena at any given time. It was really everything. It just was very empty. I think even in this economy with $50,000 on the line, people just don't want to sign up to be in America's Gestapo.
Now, would you have gotten the $50,000 up front as soon as you got onboarded?
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure. My understanding, though, from reading is that it takes a few years. You have to be in for a while, and then they give you the bonus, which makes sense.
Right,
yeah.
Because, they don't want to give you $50,000 and then you run off, right?
Yeah.
But, the other thing that I think it shows is that, I always say Americans are good people in the aggregate, and that, you have to find the scourge of the earth that you see attacking people right now your recruitment process, Laura, pretty much says a whole lot about how that they're so desperate to get people in that they don't do the necessary guidelines to follow.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. They have said themselves they've had a 120% increase in personnel from 10,000 officers to 22,000 officers. And, for any organization, that would be a stretch. When you have more people who are new than people who have been there for a while, that's going to change any culture. And it seems to me that if you're replacing them with anyone with a pulse, that implies to me that the culture is going to change very much for the worse, which it was already pretty bad. So
now let me ask you a couple questions before we end here. Now, the fact that they answered a whole lot of things that you didn't. In other words, they said you accepted the job. They said that you completed all these things. isn't there some action that can be taken towards that? I don't know quite what, but I mean, in effect, it is saying that you are doing things you didn't. And if somebody looks through the path, they'll say, oh, well, she accepted a job from ICE. Somewhere in the future, like right now, what I've been telling folks, right? For me, having accepted a job with ICE, I would never hire you. And you haven't accepted a job for ICE. To me, it endangers your future career.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, I didn't expect this story to get as big as it did. I hoped it would get big. I didn't expect it to be what it has become. But I think it's, people will be able to look back and see why I did it. And also, for the record, when they had the EOD date, they had everything. I did still need to accept the offer, though. Mm-hmm. And I was tempted. I was tempted to go and do the training, or at least see if I could, see how far I could get before somebody noticed. But it occurred to me that if they figured out who I was while I was on a facility, things could go very poorly for me.
You could endanger yourself. And this is not the cleanest administration. They have a tendency to disappear people at times.
That was kind of my thought. Like, maybe I shouldn't, go into the place where people are disappearing other people and just hope that nobody casually looks up my extremely look upable name. So, yeah.
And Laura, they would, because I don't know how long you could hold your tongue when you're out there and hearing people say certain. I don't think you could do that for too long of a time, But anyhow, in closing, what would you like to tell me?
Look, I really hope that if anything, this story can bring light to just how messed up what we're going through right now is. I think there's a desperation to normalize what's happening, especially in a lot of the media. And it's part of it is fear, but I think of the administration itself, but I think part of it is a reluctance to really look at where we are, because where we are is so profoundly horrifying. But we really are here. This is really happening. The people who got hired by the same process I went through are currently in Minneapolis doing things like throwing flashbangs into trucks and sending children to the hospital, shooting a man in the leg as he flees into his home. I mean, every day brings some new atrocity. And I've got to say, Tim Walz his answer appears to be document it and then vote in November. Nothing indicates these people are going to listen to anything that happens in November. And it is past time that I think governors mobilize the National Guard to protect the citizens who elected them to protect the citizens. This has gone too far. And just kind of quietly knuckling under in hopes that Trump won't do anything worse. This is how you end up with authoritarianism. And that's the path we're on.
I mean, I think I couldn't end with a better note. It's time for the governors to do their job and protect their people. Now, Laura, your name is all over the place with all kinds of headlines. I want to just tell you one thing. Keep writing, and also make sure and take good care of yourself, my friend.
Hey, will do. And thank you so much.
All right, folks. I hope you like that. And not only that you actually see what's really happening with ICE. People don't really want to be working for ICE. Real, honest, moral, humane people don't want to have a thing to do with ICE. Like I said, these guys make the wildest animal in their hunting form look good. And Christine McCarthy says, can't call ICE animals. Animals don't kill for fun. In other words, they kill out of necessity. These people kill for fun. These people kill to exert their power. These people kill for the sake of killing. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Again, that number is 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Now, before I want to move back to the subject of what occurred. Yesterday was the last day to sign up for the Affordable Care Act. And many people, after seeing their bills, didn't. More than 1.5 million people simply said, I can't afford this. Bye-bye. And I just want you all to get an example of what's happening in our country with the Well, you know what? It looks like I need to not do that because it looks like a couple of calls are coming in. So what I'm going to do is, if these calls don't last too long, I'll play. It's about a 4 minute segment that I want to put out there. But suffice it to say that this is having a real impact on families. Families are going without health care, and going without health care itself can cause health problems. And what I mean by that is the following. Uh, you can need health care because you're getting sick, but you can also get a need for health care. You can get sick because of your stress from not having health insurance. And I know people who are so stressful, their blood pressure goes up, their immune system gets shot because they're so fearful that something is going to happen. And what do they do then? We are in dire straits, my friend. We are in dire straits. Throw Augie back on. I tell you what, Augie spoke already. Let's go to Joe, and then we'll pick up Augie. Let's go to Joe. And Joe, you're on. Uh oh, I guess Joe hung up. Yeah, let's go to Augie then, and then we'll take the third caller after that. Augie, come on in, brother.
Good morning. On Facebook, there was a Holocaust survivor that came on there, and she said what she's seeing now is what she saw in Germany in the 30s with the Nazis. It's the very same thing. And on them, when I said it before one time, when I listened to you in Democracy Now, and I turned on to you, MSN Now, it showed Mrs. Good being blocked by two ICE vehicles. She waved them on. The first one went past her. The second one blocked her way, and that's the ones that she went around. She wanted to keep on going, and then the guy that shot her had a cell phone video of what he did. But it's so there was another cell phone story about two ICE guys in a car. They're in an ICE vehicle, and their cell phone taking a video of themselves, and they see a car in front of them, and they ram it just for the fun of it. They're laughing about ramming a civilian's car, and then inside their vehicle, they got a 12-pack of beer. And those are the guys
Yeah,
that we got.
yeah. No
So,
background check or anything, Augie. Thank you for that, Augie.
and they're saying, and they're also saying that some of the ICE guys are the insurrectionists from January 6th. They got hired on to be part of ICE,
There,
and
one of the
looking,
Congress, yeah, one of the congressmen is looking to that right now. Congressman, can't
asking
remember
how
his
many
name.
are
Right.
ICE members were there at January 6th. But thanks for
Yeah.
what you're doing. Bye bye.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Augie. Let's go to Joe. Come on in, Joe.
Yeah, hey, Alberto. That was a good interview, and I was thinking as we were going through it that this is a really positive way to change the face of ICE. I mean, if a lot of veterans who need a job took these jobs and changed the way ICE acts, that would be a terrific result from this. And I
Uh,
wanted to run that by you. Tell me
Let me
what you
just
think.
say, Joe. Joe, is this my brother, Joe? Joe M.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hey,
Your brother.
I thought
Yes,
I thought your voice sounded familiar, my brother. How you doing? Let me tell you that in theory that would be great, right, Joe? In theory that would be great.
I
But what do
do.
you? Yeah, let me ask you a question though, Joe, and I'm gonna let you answer this one.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think Stephen Miller would do if he turns on TV and he find nice guys treating people humanely?
Well, he's evil, but enough of good can overcome evil. So if you have 50 or 60 vets who are tired of what's been going on out there, and they join up, then they're not going to act like animals out there.
So let's do this, Joe. Let's
They
go ahead and
they,
put
they may change it.
let's throw out the Joe corollary right now. Joe corollary to all veterans out there. This is a Joe's corollary. Joe M's corollary.
Right.
I
Joe's a
want,
veteran. So.
yeah, Joe the veterans corollary. Please, veterans of good rapport. go out there and sign up for ICE. We want to do this experiment. Go out and sign up for
They
ICE.
probably need the money too.
And you probably need the money. Well, we all need the money, but you probably need the money. So go out there and then do good. And let's see if Stephen Miller will keep you on long enough for ICE, the face of ICE, to change. Thank you for that, my brother Joe. And great hearing
All
from
right,
you.
take care.
Haven't heard from you in a while, my brother. Great hearing from you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy.
Egbert, there are two things. First of all, the Affordable Care Act. I believe Congress is working to bring back that subsidy. Is the House passing that, and is the Senate not passing that?
Right. Let me tell you what happened. Yeah, the House passed it, and even 17 Republicans in the House passed it. Of course, they ran to the mic to say they passed it just so that the Senate could take it up and change it. Okay? Well, they also likely knew that the Senate wouldn't take it up because Thune has, I think he recessed, or he's not going to put it on the floor for debate or anything like that. So they're going into recess. No subsidy. So more than likely, we are not going to get subsidies in this year. I don't want to say I can almost guarantee it, but it looks very unlikely, especially since the president has come out with his own under 900 word plan for healthcare. So what I see is nothing happening and people suffering. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I think the public needs to put pressure on the senators, especially the Republican senators. Let them know that they must pass this subsidy bill, otherwise you're going to vote them out of office. That's how to get that thing passed. But over to the ICE issue, how much are they paying those ICE people when they hire them?
I don't know what the salary is, and Laura didn't tell me, but I know that they do get a $50,000 bonus. I don't know how soon it's collectible, but I don't know what the base salary is, like what their GS grade is or anything like that.
Okay, that's what I was curious about when we were talking.
I think they're paid well, though. I think they're paid well, and I can almost guarantee you that their per diem is probably huge. And when they go out there to, in other words, if you're in Texas and they send you to Chicago, or they send you to, not Chicago anymore, but if they send you to Minneapolis, you're probably getting a big stipend on a daily basis. You're staying in a hotel. I mean, look, Stephen Miller and Donald Trump is making being evil easy and rewarding.
Yeah, to send them to some city, you got to pay for travel, you got to pay for hotels, you got to pay for meals. All that really adds up to a lot of money.
Yeah,
these guys are acting like bullies and thugs.
John A. says they're paying. He heard they were paying around $150K. So there you go. About $150K to go ahead and beat up our citizens.
A lot of money.
All right, I got to go and play this. Thank you very much, my dear brother Jimmy. I want to play this healthcare piece here and then close this baby out, okay? All right, let's go. I want to play this piece for you guys, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Last day to sign up for health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. And we're already seeing the drastic impacts from Congress's failure to extend the ACA subsidies. A steep drop in enrollment. Federal data shows a difference of about 1.5 million Americans compared to last year as they confront significantly higher premiums. The change is causing people like this single mother with 3 kids to make tough choices.
I had heard a lot of people saying, oh, it's going to double or triple premiums. No, mine increased 7 times over. It's not just crushing my dream. It has crushed my daughter's dreams. It's crushing so many other families' dreams. Their small businesses are being squeezed by this. And I don't want other people to feel this pain that my family's carrying right now.
Ariel, you spoke to that single mother in Georgia. What more did she tell you?
Well, Chris, she tells me that she is devastated by those high costs, and she's just one of millions of Americans across the country that are dealing with those skyrocketing premiums, which is causing so many people to just not have health care at all. And, there are about 8 states across the country. You can see them right there. They're expecting to see those enrollment levels drop by more than a half. Teresa Acosta is from Georgia. I went to Georgia last week and spoke with her one-on-one. And she tells me that she has 3 kids, one with type 1 diabetes, another who was in college, but actually had to take a break so that they could afford those mounting healthcare costs. Take a listen.
A little over a year ago, I had so much hope for my kids. And today it feels overwhelmingly crushing. I'm afraid for my youngest access to the medication that he needs to live. A type 1 diabetic can't live without insulin. And I'm afraid that if something happened to me, that he would not be able to manage, a system that doesn't value his life.
Heartbreaking reality for so many Americans. Teresa also says she's very much concerned about the future for her children and concerned about their concept of the American dream. She expects to let her voice be heard during midterms this year.
So, Audrey, enrollment numbers obviously don't tell the whole story, as we just heard from that mom in Georgia. This has a ripple effect on family members. It has a ripple effect on local businesses. So as someone who runs the ACA marketplace in Massachusetts, are you hearing similar stories?
We're hearing exactly similar stories, and it is so concerning and alarming to hear Americans having to make choices like these. We are hearing from folks who simply cannot make the math work with these premium increases that they are seeing now. They are having to make trade-offs between rent, groceries, and their access to life-saving health care that's been a lifeline for them. So the stories are truly heartbreaking, and we're doing everything we can here in Massachusetts to support these folks. And Massachusetts, in many ways, is one of the best off states because of the leadership of our governor and other investments we've made. But yet we are still seeing increases in folks terminating their coverage and rolling the dice, hoping that they don't get sick this year.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're in touch with a lot of folks who are in your business in other states. Millions more people are expected to drop their health insurance because of these high prices. What effect will that have on our hospitals and on our healthcare systems in general?
This will affect individuals and their families, their healthcare, their financial security, but you're exactly right. It will ripple out through our entire healthcare system. When people make the decision to drop coverage because they simply can't afford it anymore, it's not as though they stop getting sick. It's not as though they stop getting injured or having accidents. These folks will still show up at our hospitals, at our community health centers, but they will show up sicker. And our entire system will bear an increased cost for the fact that we'll be needing to treat them in a sicker condition. We will all pay the price, and we will be a sicker and poorer country for it if this is not addressed by Congress.
Notice that she also pointed out one of the things is not to get sick, just like Alan Grayson said. Uju says, I think Americans keep on referencing Nazi Germany, which I guess is cool, but we don't look at Germany. The Nazis learned from us. America was a fascist country from 1619 till the Civil Rights Act. The jackboot thugs had their necks on black people during that time, Japanese internment camps. We need to start learning our real history. Seriously, there's a reason the Daughters of Confederacy made it their mission to miseducate us. There's a reason. Let's go to line 1. Bobby, I got a minute, brother.
Okay, I just wanted to really ask a question. I thought I saw something yesterday where you know how quickly they labeled Renee Good as a domestic terrorist. I'm sorry?
No, yeah, domestic terrorist.
Yeah. They were basically giving out a list of things that like are indicators of like Americans who might, it's something about being a domestic terrorist. They were talking about if you are anti-capitalist or if you're anti-corporate sentiment or rejection of traditional family structures and things of that nature. They were basically, or if you're like anti-authoritarian or maybe even anti-ICE because you don't like, you see that. It seems like they're about to maybe turn on the American people if you don't follow their ideology. It just seems a lot like what Nazis might have done. Anyway, I just
Well, yeah.
wanted to see if
Yeah,
about that.
it is an anti-democratic stance. If you, in other words, they want you to love an economic system that harms you. They want you to love a healthcare system that harms you. They want you to love a police state that is harming your family and friends. And if you don't, you're a domestic terrorist. Again, the thing about it is they believe if they say these things enough, that it'll become the reality in the minds of many. And what we are here doing, you yourself as well, my brother, is getting rid of the miseducation and making sure to put light into people's domain. We're out of time, Bobby, so thank you so kindly for calling. See you at 3 if you show up at the 3 o'clock show, brother. All right?
Have a good day.
Take care now. All right. Jamie says, that is just insane. I'm anti-Trump. Where does that put me on the list of that MF? Trump is going down in madness. Trump needs to be legally removed. He is mad. Well, we are not going to love any more of that fact. Exactly. I can't finish that because I'm out of time. Let me throw it to Jack. Come on in, Jack.
Guess what, Egberto?
Yes, sir.
I'm a domestic terrorist.
Oh my God! I'm piling around, town around with a domestic terrorist. Oh my God! Please, please.
Remember, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yes, and that is something we should remember. Thank you for that, Jack.
I'm a freedom fighter, not a terrorist.
I always see you as a freedom fighter. Anyway, folks, we are close to we are at the end of the program. I want to thank you all for listening. Love you all. Thank you all for your eyeballs. Thank you all for your ears. Please remember, it's not just about listening and learning together, but it's about passing that on and educating others, whether we think they want to hear it or not. Civility is important in the way we do it. That gives us some modicum of success in the process. Anyway, folks, again, love you all. My name is Egberto. Don't forget, the rest of the show is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
It's time now for your good news.